In my generation of Negroes, Negro lawyers, we got with our LLB or with our law degrees a ticket to a civil rights fight.
That ticket to the civil rights fight would first be used by Wendell as a young Air Force trainee at the start of World War II. He was one of the now revered and honored Tuskegee Airmen, but they started out getting no respect at all.
At the beginning of the war, beginning of World War II, there was no thought that Negroes could fly. In fact, it's so funny, so funny. Bigots have so many ideas. They said, well, they can't fly. But then somebody said, well, maybe they can fly, and maybe they're like cats, they can see better at night. So maybe they can fly better at night. And that's the craziest damn thing one could hear. But that's what racism is all about, reciting crazy things that nobody in his right mind would believe.
Well, the 477th Bombardment Group was created in the summer of 1943 as a result of intense pressure from Walter White and the NAACP and A. Philip Randolph and other civil rights leaders to create a bombardment group of African American airmen. White segregationists in the Air Force really resisted the creation of an all-black bombardment group in World War II. The commander in charge of the 477th Bombardment Group, Colonel Robert Selway, was a committed segregationist. And from day one, he undermined the training and the progression of the bombardment group. Morale in the 477th Bombardment Group was very low because the training was proceeding so slowly. And it reached an even lower point when the 477th was moved to Freeman Field, Indiana. It had one officers club, Freeman Field. And Commander Colonel Selway decided that he was going to draw up a new base regulation that would somehow skirt the Air Force official regulation that officers clubs should be integrated. And so he drew up the infamous base regulation 85-2, which said that trainees would have a separate officers club from trainers.
We heard that when the first group of 477th Bombardment Group went to Freeman Field, Indiana, north to Freeman Field, Indiana, that they had set up a white officers club and a Negro officers club. We knew that Army regulations at the time provided that there should be no discrimination among officer personnel by reason of race, creed, or color. So we believed that what was happening at Freeman Field was illegal, and we decided that we would test it. And so when we got there immediately on the first night, 69 of us went to the officers club. I can only tell you what I did. I was told not to go in. I said thank you and went in. I read a magazine. I sat in the foyer, and many people have said that was the first sit-in. I didn't think of it as that. It was just the first test of whether the law should be obeyed. And the law was in my favor. When I left, they told me I was under, an officer told me, a white officer, of course, told me I was under arrest of quarters.
And Commander Colonel Selway decided that he wanted to call all 400 black officers at Freeman Field, Indiana, before a panel and have each black officer individually read this new order, 85-2, and then sign an endorsement saying that they had read it and understood it. 101 black officers over 2 days refused to sign that order, and they were each placed under arrest. The 101 men were lined up, they were put on buses, they were taken to waiting airplanes, and they were flown off the base. They had no idea where they were going. The scuttlebutt was that they were going to Leavenworth, prison.
So 101 of us were transferred back to Gorman Field, Kentucky, met with military police, white of course, with submachine guns. Now, I have to tell you, I was 20 years old, and when the lieutenant colonel says, I want to read to you the article of war that provides that the failure to obey a direct command of your superior officer is punishable by death or such other punishment as the court-martial may direct, you stop listening at death and start shivering.
I think the most extraordinary thing about the Freeman Field incident was how young he was.